Hey guys, I'm Max Laferriere. I played Ghostface in Scream 6, and you're watching Craven Something Scary.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Craven Something Scary, where it's all horror all the time. So, whether you're here tonight and you are a visitor, if you're a patron, or you're a Cravenite, we are going to have a blast. This is a very, very special stream. Been looking forward to this one, and it's going to be a great time. And before we get started, just want to let you know that this will be an interactive, of course, as all my streams are. You guys that have been here before, you know. So feel free to submit questions that you would like for Ryan and I to entertain and maybe give a commentary on. We'll try to get to as many as possible. However, as you know, with the restraints of time and our own discussion, we won't be able to get to all of your questions. So don't take it personal if we don't get to yours, okay? However, if you have a burning question you really want to get addressed, you do have the ability to send a super chat. If that comes through, then I will make sure all super chats are addressed while we're streaming tonight, okay? So that is an avenue for you to do, and we'll get that on the screen. And also it helps, keep the lights on for the channel. So it's a win-win for everybody. All right, I appreciate that, guys. Just keep in mind you have that avenue. I want to say a blanket hello to the chat, just to say hi to everyone. I do see you all here that are leaving comments. I'm scrolling, and so I appreciate all of you being here. Also, want to say a quick shout out to my moderators, Sarah Campbell, Val is here as well, and then could be and Denisha might be here as well. Um, but thank you to my moderators for doing such an amazing job keeping the chat a fun, safe, friendly, happy environment that we do here, how we roll on my channel. Appreciate that. And also, you're going to notice throughout the stream that you're going to see links posted by my moderator. So, for example, Sarah's already posting links to Ryan's podcast. You can click these as well as his Patreon, and you'll be able to go and click these links and get connected, whether it's on Apple or it's on Spotify, whatever the case may be. Be sure you click these links so that you can follow him there and make sure you are ready to listen to his weekly podcast if you're not doing so yet. All right, so that'll be happening throughout the stream. So, having said all of that, I'm very excited to introduce my guest tonight. This is the first time that he's been on the channel, and he is a force in the Scream community with the Ryan C. Showers Scream podcast. And you also know him over on X, on Twitter, whichever you want to call it. Look, I go half and half. It's either X or Twitter. Doesn't matter. We all know what we're talking about when we reference X. But he is a force in the Scream community, great content, and he's going to be an amazing guest tonight as we talk about Scream 7. So please welcome and give a round of applause in the chat for Mr. Ryan C. Showers. Hey, Ryan.
Hey, thank you for that really nice and warm introduction. I hope I live up to the hype, but thank you.
Of course, that's not even a concern, man. You got that in spades.
Well,
You're
I just
very
have to give I have to give Sarah
yeah,
Campbell a shout out. She is like my
yeah.
girl. I'm so happy she's a Patreon of mine. She's been on my show a bunch of times, and I just love the heck out of her. So Sarah, thank you for and Val. I saw Val too. So I don't know Val, but hi Val. But I love Sarah. She's one of my BFFs. So
Oh, yeah, man, she's amazing. We affectionately here in the community call her the Queen, Queen
she is the
Sarah.
queen.
she's, I mean, she's like amazing. So I completely get it, man, and that's so cool. So yeah, shout out to Sarah. And Sarah says, Love you,
Love you,
bestie.
bestie.
There you
Aw.
go. It's awesome.
Yeah.
And Val says, thanks, or welcome, Ryan. Thank you for being with us tonight. Yeah,
Well, welcome. Thanks.
absolutely.
And thank you for that introduction. I just have to say, like right off the bat, like I am sad that this is the first time we have met one on one.
Hmm.
And but I'm happy that we're rectifying that tonight. But
Yeah.
one thing, because you started your channel maybe a little bit after I started my podcast, and I've noticed like and because like I follow you, and we've
Hmm.
always known each other.
Yep.
And I have to say, like you are so you kind of, not to pull a Sydney and Jill here, but like there I do see a lot of myself and you, or at least the way that you have uh promoted your channel and like created your space and your community. I
Hmm.
see a lot of the way that you do things and in the way that I do things. So I've that's always something I wanted to tell you. So it's
Oh man. Well,
rec-
thank you.
yeah.
That's awesome, man. I mean, that's very cool. That's very, very cool. And we'll definitely gonna not wait such a long time to be on together again. We're gonna have to definitely shorten up that frequency for sure, Ryan.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Um, and for tonight, Ryan, I was thinking, there's so many different Scream topics we could have gone any number of directions, but I thought with all this going on,
Mhm.
and that's a mouthful. With all this going on with Scream 7 and all this happened, uh, I just thought it would be we could maybe start there and just kind of, we're always hearing rumors, grain of salt, of course, but uh, just talk about maybe some theories, some ideas, kind of what your feelings are, and I can share some of mine. But given that we don't yet know the director,
Mhm.
which is so unfortunate, with Christopher Landon had signed on, and I was able to bring him on the channel, and it was a wonderful interview. And it's my heart broke when I understood why he did it. I totally
Mhm.
understood it, but I hate that opportunity was lost. But there, we have to move on, right? So, given the fact that we don't have anything really concrete yet, what are some of your feelings about Seven, and where we may be heading, and then where we want to head?
Well, I mean, mine, not to sound like having the Gale Weathers confidence that I have, but like I do think my prediction and my personal preferences kind of line up.
Okay.
I think that I mean, it's only natural that they're going to go with Sydney as the main
Hmm.
character again, and that's what I want. I was disappointed with Scream 6. I'm not
Hmm.
going to lie, and there
Okay.
one of the ways I kind of coped with it over the spring and summer was I realized, like, the image of Sydney, Gale, and Sam at the end of Scream 5, which is one of my favorite images from that film, and I was
Hmm.
like, wow, that's I would have loved to have seen a story with the three of them. And actually, on my podcast, I have a writer friend. He's a best-selling author. He wrote a
Hmm.
full script of Scream 7 where it was kind of a co-lead situation, and I performed it on the podcast last June. So if you haven't listened, go listen to that. It's episode 112. And so I've always wanted Sydney to come back into the center of the story, and now that Melissa is no longer with the project, I think it only makes sense to go to Sydney. She is the backbone of this franchise, and there's a lot to explore. I think that I've been really riding this train for a couple of weeks now. I'm
Hmm.
so into the idea of this fresh idea that sh- Sydney as a mother, that is something like in protecting her kids whenever a ghost face
Yeah.
someone is after her, like, as somebody who has so much baggage and trauma with her own mother,
Hmm.
I think there'll be a full circle moment there if she is that Ellen Ripley protecting Newt, in Aliens, like that kind of energy. I think that's something that really
Yeah.
needs to be explored. I want Mark Kincaid in there. I love him. I want to see what they're like as a married couple. And
Hmm.
I want a real resolution for Gail Weathers. As much as I love her big scene in Scream 6, I didn't get enough of her, and
No.
I didn't get an ending for her. And I
Nope.
think that cutting out making the characters more concise in Scream 7 kind of really gives an opportunity to celebrate the legacy in the urgent way of talking about this storyline with Sydney and whatever she's going through at this period in her life, but also doing something really substantial with Gale. So, and I think that that's what's going to happen. I think that Nev wants to come back. And I think, based on the rumors, we've been told that like there was a script written where it was like plot A Sam, plot B Sydney, and then they converged. I mean, in my opinion, how do you not just cross out the Sam parts and just build out the Sydney part?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, I think Ned wants to come back. I think Courtney is a workaholic and she's proud of this franchise, and I think they'll both be producers, and I think we're gonna get a great movie. I made a post today comparing it
Mhm.
to like H2O, and I think that like
Yeah, I
you
saw
know,
that. Yeah.
yeah. So there you go.
Dude, no, that was a great post. And that, because when I read that, I was like, because you and I think have the same playbook in a lot of ways. Because I've been saying for a while that the way I hate to use such dramatic language, but I'm like, the way you save Scream 7
hmm
is you have to go legacy. You've got to bring back Sydney. You got to let's get Mark in there after
hmm
his brilliant performance in Thanksgiving, which is one of my favorite movies of the year last year.
Yes.
Oh, it was so good. And, but you bring him in, and then you have Gail. And I know you're a huge, huge Gail fan,
hmm
and I want to see what the real Gail Weathers. I'm talking about
hmm
not the 5 and 6 Gail, but I mean 1, 2, 3, 4, the Wes
hmm
Craven Gail, Kevin Williamson Gail back in the day. And I know she's still there. It's just the
Yeah.
writing. He's got to write her that way. And so I'm with you. I really believe that's what needs to happen. And I think that I kind of think they're smart in not announcing things too quickly. I think they want some of the dust to settle on all of this,
hmm
the smoke from all the fires to come calm down, right? And maybe wait a little bit more before you announce
Well,
it.
can I just push it even further? Like,
Yeah.
I think it is honestly, if I were in charge at Spyglass, if I was in charge of their PR marketing department, I would insist that they
Mhm.
not announce anything. First of all, that they package
Yeah.
everything together, that we get director, writer, plot, filming location, stars,
Yep.
legacy stars, new stars, release date, all at once. I think bundled into a nice package. I think that's necessary, but also I think that they absolutely need to wait until
Mhm.
Abigail comes and goes, because
Mhm.
otherwise, like, Melissa and Radio
Oh,
Silence will be asked every interview. I almost slipped. Every interview
right.
about Scream 7, and it will be a Scream 7 gossip fest, and then it will turn it into a
Yep.
political fest, and
Oh,
then their movie will be washed away. And
it's
personally,
true.
I don't think Abigail is going to light the world on fire to begin with.
Right.
So what I would feel bad for everybody who's involved in this movie if their movie is being co-opted by Scream
Yep.
7 gossip. So I think
Yep.
let Abigail have its its moment in the sunlight, and then Scream 7
Mhm.
announces in the middle of May. That's what I would do.
I think that makes a ton of sense. And yes, let that get past. Let all the press junkets get through, all the interview
Mhm.
cycles get done in the press, and then boom, hey, here comes Spyglass announcement time. I mean, I can only imagine what it's going to be like for content creators like you, me, others
Mhm.
on YouTube and all across the globe that are doing content creation. The day this bomb drops, man, oh my gosh! And if they do what you suggest, like
Mhm.
you everything at one time, it's going to be insanity,
Well,
but good,
insanity,
a
but I
good
think
insanity.
a good one, yeah. Like, I
Yeah,
think that
yeah,
the
yeah.
the thing is like the Melissa has a very passionate base of support, and they're very
Mhm.
hurt, and I understand that. But there are some of like there's a sliver in that support that is very toxic, and
Yep.
that sends death threats, like, to me, like, it's not a good group of people.
Jeez.
They are going to be unhappy no matter what, and they're going to throw a fit no matter what. So
True.
honestly, I almost kind of want Scream 7 to be announced so that we can just get that over with and we can just move on
Mhm.
with our lives.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
that's something that does concern me. And I wonder, just as someone, in your perspective, what do you think that, like, how do you think that they're going, like, the Melissa factor and all of this,
Mhm.
with the political factor and all this, do you think that that will hang over Scream 7? Or do you think, this is just something that's overblown because of the partisan kind of nature of Twitter?
Yeah, I mean, I think as time goes, it
Mhm.
will get quieter. I really do believe that. Now, will it ever get completely quiet? Probably not. because as you say, there's always a faction, a portion of the group
Mhm.
that's passionately toxic. It's like it's what they live for. It's like, you know, it's like really, and I always think to myself, Ryan, I'm like, do you realize how much good you could do with that much energy and passion
Mhm.
instead of like tearing people down?
Yeah.
And but no, but to answer your question, I do think time, you know, they say time heals all wounds. I think in a way it will help as time progresses so that
Mhm.
when we get time for 7 to come out, which will be, well, I mean, we don't know when for sure, but knock on wood next year,
Mhm.
then I think that, yeah, there'll be a portion of that, but I think a lot of that noise will be gone. Now the Melissa group is not going to be happy, like you said. It doesn't matter if it's, you know, whether it's Sydney or if it could be Mia Goth. It could be, you just take your pick. They're not going to be happy. So and that's fine. I mean, they have the
Mhm.
right to not be happy. But you also don't have the right to cross lines and threaten people. And I mean, Christopher Landon is one of the reasons he got pulled out because he was threatening his kids, man. I
Yep.
mean, seriously, it's like this is, and he had nothing to do with it. You know,
Mhm.
that was not his decision.
Yeah.
But
It's really unfortunate. It's sad that it's sad that it happened, and like I feel bad for Chris, and I hope that he gets to direct a Scream movie one day. I think it will work out. Maybe he'll
yeah,
get to direct the movie
hmm
about Sydney's daughters, in 10 years or something like that.
oh, and that'd be
So,
awesome. Of course,
yeah.
I'm always thinking ahead. Like, I could see that movie where Sydney's daughters are in high school and they're
Mhm.
the new protagonist, and she's there in like a supportive role as the mother, but she's still
Mhm.
there. She still
Yeah.
helps out a little bit, maybe not to the level she has, but anyway, that's down the road. Right now,
Mhm.
I want my Sydney back. And
Mhm.
now,
And
oh yeah, go
can I
ahead.
just say, like, don't you want a truly great story for Sydney? Like, I think
I
Scream
do.
7 has the potential to give us like a Sydney that we saw in the first three movies, where
Yes.
I really love Sydney in all of the films, right? But I
Hmm.
think that like Scream 3 is her peak. That it's that's kind of like the identity of my podcast is Sydney and Scream
Right.
3. But like even just like, all three of those first movies were so intimate, so there was something different about them than what's happened afterwards. And I think that again, there's this motherhood aspect, being in a
Yep.
family, like
Hmm.
that is something very intimate, touchy, and different. And I think that that will give us an amazing story and performance for Nev and for Sydney. And I think it's something that
Hmm.
needs to be told. And I think that like in and amongst the people who say that this interrupts the overall vision for the trilogy, I don't see it that way. I think Scream 5, art changes and shifts form all the time. Like Scream 5 introduces the requel.
Hmm.
We get a new group of characters and we get the old group of characters. Scream 6 was about the new, and now Scream 7 is going to be about the old. And uh I think that's
Yeah.
appropriate, and that's fine.
Yeah, yeah, I do too. And I've said this before, and I don't know what your feelings are. I'll be curious to see what you think about this idea. It's something you've probably already thought about as well. But I know there was an intended arc for the trilogy here, but if you think about how Scream 6 ended,
Mhm.
it was really a happy ending for the core four, for
Mhm.
everybody, because here's Sam with her dad's mask, and she looks at it and then she drops it on the ground, right? She walks away with her sister, hand in hand together, essentially walking off into the sunset, basically. And then Mindy's, of course, alive, doing jumping jacks after all the stabs. And then you got you got Chad, Terminator Chad. Somehow he survives. But I guess my point is, in my mind, Ryan, that's
Mhm.
not a bad ending for the Carpenters, if you
Yeah.
really think about it.
I think that like, for all of like, there was a lot of conversation and discourse over, like between March and November about like nobody died, right? The Scream
Right.
6 is the movie where nobody died. And
Mhm.
I did like this really cool episode. I invited all my Patreons on. It was just an open invitation. Everybody who wanted to could show up. And I asked just a simple question, who should have died? Which of the six should have died? And this was actually the last episode I did before the Melissa news. So thank God I squeezed that in, right? But
Mm.
like, I do think that it's interesting though, now that this was kind of their ending, maybe this was just meant to be that way, you know? So looking
Right.
back on that decision, it's
Yep.
it's less of a problem. And I think that
Yeah.
you're 100% right in your analysis. And, you know, Sam does drop the mask, and you know, and talk about this, Stephen, like, you know, Sam had the climactic moment that
Mhm.
you could have for a character, where she wears Billy's robe and takes off the mask and goes ham on Bailey, like, and she gets to say,
Yeah.
"I am not my dad." Like that, in a way, that moment, that scene, that should have been in Scream 7, right? That should have been the ending of her character arc. So where do you really realistically go from there with Sam, like, without making her
Yeah.
Ghostface? So I think that, like,
Right.
you know, it really worked out for the best.
Yeah. Agreed. 100% agreed. And, you know, wow, with all that's happened, you look back on it, and like you say, I love how you said maybe it was meant to be. It really kind of looks that way because there was no cliffhanger. What the
Hmm.
worst thing in the world would have been some cliffhanger crazy ending where we don't know what's going on, you know, if Melissa's going to live or die, or there's, you know, whatever. But thankfully that didn't happen. It was like a very tied up with a bow kind
Hmm.
of ending. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think as far as I'm concerned, I look at 5 and 6 as I've called it the Carpenter Chronicles. Is my own little. I just, you know, like that's their own little story. And now we're moving back,
Hmm.
hopefully back to the Scream we know and love. Now I got to throw something at you, man, and I think I know how you're going to feel about it, but I still want to ask you about this.
I may surprise you, but go ahead.
Well, yeah, it's true too. So, and I can't take credit for this. It's funny because it just so happens, and I always give her credit. You always give credit where credit's due. Sarah Campbell is the one that pitches to me first. The first person I ever heard suggest this,
Hmm.
and I'm like, oh my gosh! I told her, I said, I love it. I'm making a video. I'm giving you a shout out. and but here's the idea: is how would you feel if a decision was made
Hmm.
to kind of follow on what I just mentioned, where they're going to put 5 and 6 over, kind of like exiting off the freeway in its own rest stop.
Hmm.
And then we're going to have a direct sequel to 4
Hmm.
where Dewey's back. Obviously, Dewey's alive again. You've got everybody. You even had Judy back if you want her back. If you want her back. How would you feel if that was, I know that's gonna be a controversial choice. I personally
Hmm.
kind of like flirting with that idea because
Hmm.
Dewey is one of my all-time favorites. To have him back again, what would you say if that was the announcement that they're gonna have a direct sequel essentially to 4, like 5 and 6 are separate?
To be honest, as much as, like, I would love to have Dewey back, like
Mhm.
that, you know, I would probably say stick with the continuity,
Yeah.
and just have the follow 6. And, like, I think that exploring Gail's grief about Dewey, and, like, I thought, here's a clever way that they could bring David Arquette back. You know,
Okay.
Gail is writing the book, okay, about
Mhm.
the sheriff book that she wanted to write, and she's typing, and, like, she has, like, thought bubbles, and we see flashbacks of her marriage. We see flashback of Dewey,
Mm.
Sydney, and Gail, like a new scene that they would have filmed, right? So,
Yeah.
you know, you could have him back as in that way. But, like, to answer your question, like, and this question has been presented to me in different forms, like, and you know, as much as I would like it, I'm not so sold on it. I think that, you
Yeah.
know, I'm fine keeping. I would be fine with either. I would be fine if they
Okay.
wanted to do that. I would be fine if they wanted to keep the continuity. So, because I love
Mhm.
Dewey and I love Judy, and I would love to see Gail and Dewey, you know, together again, like it was. But I also am fine, you know, sticking with a sophisticated continuity. So,
Sure. Okay. Yeah, thanks, man. I figured you would lean that way, but I said I gotta just ask, because I mean, it is a big. That's a very, very big move if that was to
well,
be made. That would be a huge move.
so that's not what I was expecting you to ask, because there is something I wanted to bring up with you.
Yeah.
So, you know, from what I understand, like, you know, you know, the way that Sydney and Scream 3 and Gale Weathers are tied into my brand, like, your
Yes.
part of your brand is like Stu.
Oh,
Okay.
absolutely. Yes. Yes. That's right.
And, you know, for a long time, I was kind of like the anti you, right? Of, like, not of being like, no, Stu's dead, blah blah blah, you
Right.
know. But, you know, in a way, so, like, here's the thing: if we do a legacy film, Okay, and here's where I may surprise you. Like, I am kind
Mhm.
of being open-minded to
Okay.
if we're having a Sydney-centric movie that does tie up the franchise, right? Am I completely
Mhm.
opposed to Stu being involved? No, I'm not. Like, it depends. It depends. It depends on how it's done, right?
Right,
So
right.
people can grow and change. So
That's
I'm
awesome.
walking evidence of that. So there you go.
Wow, Ryan. Well, that is incredible. Yeah, I am the self-professed conductor of the stew train. It's a fun thing on the channel that we do around here with the stew train and on the clips and stuff. But that's the other thing is, yeah, with Sydney, if Sydney's back full circle, I
Mhm,
would absolutely love to see that, man. If they could, and like I say, it's got to be written well. I'm the first to say that it has to be,
mhm.
but if they can write it really well, I would absolutely be thrilled, to see him one more time, and let's have this final, let's have the final battle one
Well,
more time with Sydney and Stu.
and, like, here's the thing, like, even, like, let's just say they don't do Stu is alive, right? Let's just say that,
Yeah.
but, like, I think that, like, well, a flaw of 5, and I really love Scream 5, but, like, a flaw of 5 is that they completely dismiss the Mocker aspect of it all. Like, we get one little
I
line about Leslie
know.
Mocker. Vince is, like, the biggest throwaway character when he could have been
Oh,
a real, like, force as, like, a red herring throughout.
yes.
But, like, so a part of me would almost I wouldn't mind, like, a Mocker type, you know, thing going on in Scream 7 where I would love to see Leslie Mocker, but I
Mhm.
think that, like, so when I say I'm open-minded, like, I am just open-minded to this idea of that Stu wasn't really given his credits. Everything's about Billy,
Right.
Billy, Billy in 5
That's
and
right.
6. So
Yes.
I would have loved to have seen a Christina Leslie duo killer, but we'll see.
Ooh.
So
Hey, well, okay, I'm gonna steer us another direction then. So, in 6, at the way 6 begins, and we're talking spoilers, so if someone has been under a rock on my channel and has not seen Scream 6, I will be shocked. But just FYI, we're gonna get into major spoiler talk here. I loved the beginning of Scream 6 when we get the Jason reveal, and was not expecting that to happen. I was ready for the title card, and then all of a sudden, obviously, we know what happens when he takes the mask off. But here's the thing: I have held to the idea, Ryan, of a ghost face cult. Of course, I've always thought in my mind you could have Stu be the leader, but that's whether or not that's the case. The cults of Ghostface, and in my mind, 6 solidified that because Jason
Mhm,
and Greg had no relation to the Baileys, the motive. They were completely separate. They didn't even have any relationship. But they were what? They were wanting to finish the movie. They wanted to do what Richie had started. And we know Richie and Amber met on the Dreaded subreddit thread, Dreaded thread. And to me, and I always want to get your opinion on this, I've always felt the opening of 6 confirmed, without saying it, but it confirmed the cult of Ghostface is real. Because here we are in New York. We're not in
mhm,
Woodsboro. And they're trying to complete the mission.
mhm.
So, what do you think about that?
I like that idea, and, like, I've thought about it too, like, the what's been floated about in terms of, like, the occult with,
Mhm.
the original, like, idea for Scream 3, right? I
Yes.
think that they could almost use that, like, what like with like local high school kids, in the town wherever Sydney lives.
Yep.
I think I'm open minded to it. I think it's cool to have this idea of, like, ghost faces everywhere, and, like,
Mhm.
so I'm open to I'm open to the cult. I think it's
Mhm.
I think it'd be fine. And again, like, how scary would it be? I think that makes it even scarier. It makes it something new and fresh. I don't know how you would do the finale for it, but I'm sure they could figure
Yeah.
out. So in terms of the Scream 6 in particular, I never actually thought about that. I always assumed that the Baileys were just, they found a useful idiot in Jason and Greg, but
Mhm.
I guess I never thought about that. There's a wider
Mhm.
a wider aerial view that you could take. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm like, wow, this is pretty interesting how they're doing this separate ghost face.
Mhm.
And where could that possibly lead? And if the cult idea is kind of fleshed out for 7, it
Mhm.
is scary because where do you go? You don't know where anywhere is safe. You don't know where, does every major city, would have a cult member, or they, I mean, you can drive to a town. I mean, you don't
Well,
know.
so it's funny you say that because in the Scream 7 script that was featured on my podcast, there's actually a line in there that kind of show like it's about saying that Kirby is hunting down different ghost faces in different cities because it's kind of spreading like that. So I think that that is interesting, and I think that like
Mhm.
I think that with 7 they're going to do something big. I mean, because it's going to be probably a smaller type story since it will be
Mhm.
domestic in some respects
Yep.
with little kids. I do think that
Mhm.
having a bigger and badder kind of thing is also something that they would do to kind of keep everything balanced so it doesn't feel too small. So and
Yeah,
it kind of gives them going after Sydney a purpose, right? Because she's
that's right.
the original, and yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, they're going after where it all began, and so it would be interesting to see how they would go about that. If they go that route, of course. But
Mhm,
um, Seattle. So
mhm,
we know that Seattle is supposed to be where Sydney and Mark and the kids are living. How would you feel about Seattle being now? I doubt they would actually go there to film, probably
mhm.
not. But even if it's not really Seattle, I mean, goodness, we were in Montreal for New York, But how do you feel about the idea of Seattle as a location?
I think I would prefer it to be suburban. I
Mhm.
would, I'm sure you've seen Sick, right? With the
Oh,
Kevin
yes.
Williamson, yeah, right. I
Several
think
times.
that, like, I mean, I think the idea of like I'm not opposed to Seattle, but we just did a city story. So in Seattle, it's just rainy. I
True.
know. I think that like having a suburban setting where kind of like Woodsboro, but just different from Woodsboro is not. It's not Woodsboro, but it's just a more sophisticated like
Mhm.
suburb. Like I think that like having a big house, having that's what works best for Scream. Is the
Mhm.
space in the air. Like you think of Windsor College, you think of Woodsboro
Yeah.
itself in the first movie, right? And even like in Scream 3, you have like the big mansion. Like I think that you need that
Mhm.
space and that the woods and trees. And I think that I look at Sick and I see how that was filmed on location somewhere kind of remote.
Yeah.
And I think that is what we need for Scream 7. And I think that I don't think Sydney would live in a city-ish part, I think,
Mhm.
of Seattle. I think that even so, she would be in the suburbs, somewhere secluded, somewhere private. So yeah.
Makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that does you're right. I think you're much more likely to be a little bit off the beaten path, for privacy and other things. And hey, real quick, Super Tenor, what's up, man? Coming in with a $2 super chat says Stu uses the Necronomicon and resurrects Corey Cunningham. Oh my gosh! Now we're really crossing the streams here, bringing Halloween into Scream. I don't know about that one, buddy. That's funny. That's
Well,
hilarious.
can I just throw something about Corey Cunningham? Well, loosely,
Sure.
but like,
Yeah.
another reason why I think it's going to be okay in terms of Scream 7, and not that anybody needs to be reassured, but it's just good to put positive energy out.
Yeah.
Look at Halloween. They had a big shakeup with it wasn't similar. It wasn't similar in nature, but it was similar because they had like a trilogy planned, in a certain way. But
Hmm.
the third movie, they had to go back to the drawing board and do something different and make up for the time gap. And I think that they did that really successfully. And I think that like if you look at the Halloween trilogy, it's going to kind of resemble the Scream trilogy, right? You have 2018 and
Mm,
5 being very similar, and the way that they recreate
true.
the original. Kills and 6 also have a
Hmm.
lot in common, and they're kind of like part one, part two story.
Yeah,
So but then part 3 is kind of its own unique thing, but it
it is.
still is the same storyline and ties everything up. So again, I'm happy and optimistic.
Yeah, no, I like that. I like that actually, because six. I mean, any way you look at it, seven is going to be different. I mean, obviously, there's no Sam, there's no Tara. We don't
Mhm,
know what's up with Mindy and Chad. To be completely honest, I could go either way with those characters.
mhm,
If they're not there, I won't be upset. If they're there, I won't really be upset either. Although I will say, Ryan, I've been very open about this. I'm
Hmm.
not a big fan of Mindy, the character. Nothing to do with Jasmine, just the character, how she's written,
Hmm.
especially in six. I thought was so over the top, like the park scene with the rules. Man, it's tough to watch for me, bro. I have to be honest.
I'm a gay man, okay? And so
Uh
when
huh.
people try to like, whenever I criticize Mindy and people try to like come for me, no, no.
No,
But the thing about Mindy, like I love the idea of her, and I actually do really like her in 5, but 6, she is so cringe. The writing
it
is terrible, and
is
like Jasmine Savoy is an awesome person. Like
right.
she really is. Like whenever she was interviewed about Scream 7, her answer was spectacular. She oozes energy. She's beautiful, but like Mindy is awful. She is not human. She's a
No.
caricature. Like, and I hate the cringe comedy. I hate the, when
Hmm.
she gets stabbed and she's Ethan's like, "Oh my gosh, Mindy, are you okay?" And she's like, "Yeah, I'm so great." Like it's just not the way that normal people talk and
No.
behave. Like I don't know. I don't like it. So
No. Well, you and I are in agreement on this one. Yeah, I just don't. Yeah, in five, it was much more reserved. She was. It was like, oh, she's a little more mysterious kind of character.
she's cool.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, 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 and I was okay with that in five, although I still wasn't a big fan of the getting stabbed in the shoulder and passing out for 30 minutes in the finale. But hey, again, that's the writing. But
Yeah.
but in six, it was like, what did you guys do to her? The
Hmm.
writers, she's just way over the top, man.
Yeah.
And
And
anyway,
like but in the writing, it's like even just the fact of having her, like you alluded to earlier, the fact that she was sprinting down the streets of New York,
right?
at
Yeah.
the end after being stabbed in the abdomen. Girl, when you get
Mm-mm.
stabbed in the stomach, you are not
Oh,
running. You are not
oh,
walking. Like,
heck
you need
no. I mean, she was
so
almost gutted. I mean, it wasn't even like a poke. It was like, dude, seriously, you, you're not even gonna want to move in your bed. Like, it's
Mhm.
gonna hurt just to move an inch. Yeah,
Mhm.
that was laughable. But so I guess I'm saying like for seven, how do you feel about it? Are you kind of indifferent like I am, or do you like no, I really don't want to see him, or you're like I wouldn't mind seeing him, or maybe they're the opening kill, or so. I mean, I don't
Well,
know. I mean, it's possible.
I'm I'm okay either way. To be honest, I think it would be better for the whole story and just the
Mhm.
continuity of everything if they sat out, just because
Yeah,
Chad is allegedly with Tara. So, in a way it wouldn't make sense.
true.
Um and Mindy drives me crazy. I just think she would distract from the tone of the movie and the seriousness. So
Yep.
I would, for the sake of just keeping the story concise and lean and focused on, I think having them sit out is good. However, I could see a world where they're included, because think about this, if they're going after, Gail and Sydney, part of the original legacy,
Hmm.
Randy is a part of that, and they are the avatars of Randy. They are his descendants. So that image at the end where they're over Billy's body, at the end of Scream 1, it's
Oh
Sydney,
yeah.
Gale, and Randy. So,
Yep.
you
Hmm.
you could bring them in if they had to, if they wanted to. So I'm okay with either, but I definitely lean on the side of letting them sit out, even though I will
Yeah.
miss Mason because he is hot and charming. So
Yeah, he is, and he's a great, and he's got such a good charisma, about him, and yeah, I'll miss him too. He grew on me. Like it's funny because just how Mindy was one way in six,
mhm,
I thought Chad was the opposite. I actually thought his character was great. It was written
yep,
much better.
mhm,
So I'll miss him too. And Sarah says Jasmine's incredible in Yellow Jackets. I feel like they wasted her talent on Mindy. Yeah,
yep, mhm,
exactly. I agree. Um, all right. So real quick, and I know we've got just let everyone in the chat know. Ryan has been generous with his time tonight to give an hour for the show, but we only going to have about 15 more minutes. We're going to have a hard stop with Ryan at 9 o'clock Central, so we've got let's just say a 10-minute window for questions. So if you have some you want to send in, go ahead. This will be the time to do so. But Ryan, let me ask you this: we touched on
mhm,
Dempsey earlier a little
mhm.
bit, but not a lot, and I I would love to see him back, and I want to ask you what your thoughts are on him back in a co-lead type of role with Sydney.
I mean, like I can't even stop myself from smiling. That's how much it makes me happy. If you know me, you know me. I'm like a hardcore Kincaid person. Irrationally, I'm probably the biggest Sydney and Kincaid fan in the world.
That's
You know,
good.
for right.
Yeah.
But no, I think that he would fill the energy in the shoes of Dewey in a lot of respects. Like we need that
Mm,
solid male energy, and I'm interested in his backstory too, like his whole
yeah.
character development, because in that scene, this at the station with him and Sydney, one of my favorite scenes of all time, like, you know, we learn that he has a little bit of a dark past too, and that's why they
Yes.
connect, and that's why they form whatever, you know, the relationship that will become their marriage. So I think that
Hmm.
he totally needs to come back. And you know, I think that he has this good relationship with Spyglass from Thanksgiving. I assume he'll
True.
be in Thanksgiving too. I
Hmm.
assume that they probably, you know, signed him on for a 2 picture deal with Thanksgiving 2 and Scream 7, just to,
Oh,
you know, keep him, you know. But
yeah.
I think he'll want to come back. I think that he will. So I think that it will be good. And like, you know, I imagine he's going to be a lot like Dewey in Scream 3, where he has that leading man energy and screen time, but he's not, but Sydney and Gail both still get to have their moments, right? He doesn't detract
Hmm.
from them. So
Yes. Yeah. And I think he does a good job of not trying to be the star. Like he knows how to what's the word I'm looking for? Basically, not coexist, but I'm trying to say like be a supporting, but still be a
mhm,
lead.
right.
But he knows when to pull back, and he's a seasoned actor. I mean, the guy's a pro. So
And he's a superstar. Like, honestly, you know, look at
yeah,
if Scream 7 had Nev Campbell, you know, for like the original horror fans, Monica Geller from Friends, and you know, McDreamy from Grey's Anatomy, and let's just say Hayden Panettiere, plus or minus, like that
yeah,
is a superstar lineup. And we're not even getting into new cast possibilities, you know, which,
true.
you know, so I think Scream 7 will be in terrific shape, to be honest.
Me too. And you just touched on something we haven't touched on yet, Hayden. So
Hmm.
I got to be honest with you. I thought the way again it goes back to writing. The writing for Kirby in 6 was a letdown for me. I thought
Hmm.
she was underused, and it just felt like when she was on screen, I'm like, she's not where I want to see her bring it, man. I know there's more there. How did you feel about how her character was written in 6, and would you want to see her in 7 or return or not?
Well, I really, you know, to answer the second part of your question first, like
Yeah.
I really would love to see Sydney and Kirby together again at some point, whether it's in 7 or whether it's in the reboot with the girls, with the daughters down the road.
Mhm.
You know, they have that connection and that history that you know,
True.
them going down to the basement together, you know, before the phone call, like, but I don't know. I like Kirby in 6. Like, I mean, to be honest, I'm really, I find 6 very flawed. It's my least favorite by a mile, and
Ah,
Kirby and Hayden's acting is, you know, and the charisma she brings to the screen does help me in the scenes when Gail Weathers isn't there. And you know,
yeah.
I don't know. I don't love the writing, but I don't hate it.
Okay.
I understand both the people who think, oh, this is the return that she deserved, and other people who think who is she kidding? She's not FBI. You know, put the gun
Right.
down, girl. So I see both perspectives, and I'm kind of neutral. But as for
Okay.
7, I could take her or leave her. Like I think, you know,
Mhm.
if she feels right, you know, if she wants to come back, sure, you know, I think that that's fine. But I don't think she's absolutely necessary like the other 3 are.
Yes, I'm with you there. Again, I could take her, but I'd be fine. But like you say, I think the key is the new core three. I mean, Kincaid, Sydney, and Gale. That's the OG three, man. The new, and um, real quick, this is a question we've kind of touched on, but we never have addressed exactly. It comes in from Chris. What's up, Chris? Chris says, who would you like to direct Scream 7? Do you have a person in mind?
Aw, Chris. I love Chris. I know him. He's one of my friends from my podcast.
Oh,
So hey Chris.
nice.
Um
Welcome.
so everybody who's out there watching, I've done coverage about this on my show. And I think it was the week of Valentine's Day, so the February 13th episode. So I'll more details there, but like Karin Kusama directed Destroyer and Jennifer's Body. She's
Mhm.
amazing. I think John Himes from Sick would be amazing.
Yes.
And those would be my top two. But I think realistically, I think it's gonna be John Himes. I really do.
Yeah.
But what about you?
Yeah. I'm with you. John Hyams is my favorite right now. I hope that he gets it. I think he did such an amazing job, and I was really fortunate that he came onto my channel for an interview for an hour, and we were able to talk about Sick and just in general. And I'm telling you, I knew right away that he understands suspense and
Hmm.
tension, and his movie alone is incredible if you've not seen that. So I
It's
think he could
self-evident,
totally do it.
right? I mean,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
his
yeah.
his knowledge of suspense, like the way that the tone that he set, the way he
Hmm.
staged the action. A Sick was almost like a Scream tryout in so many respects. Like
I agree.
I would be shocked if he's not the director. And plus, like
Yep.
he has kind of a lower profile, so like it's kind of
Hmm.
like David Fincher taking Alien 3 before he became David Fincher, right?
Yep.
So I think that like he would be, and plus he's the Kevin Williamson connection. I think
That's
it
right.
should be him. I think it should be
Yep.
him.
100%. I am excited for hopefully the announcement that he's got the gig, because I think he'll do great. In fact, the movie Sick is one that I've really enjoyed. I did a watch party a
Hmm.
while back, I believe, on the channel even for it. But the opening of that movie,
Hmm.
it felt like a Scream movie to me. It was
Hmm.
incredible. I mean, I was like, he gets it. He totally gets it. So yeah, I'm with you. That's who I hope is announced whenever they make the announcement as well. Um, so okay, so we're gonna start kind of heading down that exit lane now, guys. So let's see here, a couple more questions, and then we can go ahead and you can tell us a little bit more about your podcast for those who are maybe attending who have not yet had the opportunity or joy of being able to listen. But and there's links been in the links are being posted in the chat. Everyone, be sure you see the links here. Oh, Sarah and the mod Val's putting them in there. Be sure you go and follow Ryan at all of the podcasts on his X and so on and so forth. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. But I guess I'll the last question, Ryan, for you for this time together was, what would be the one thing above all you don't want to see in Scream 7?
Clean reboot. I think, and if it's
Ooh,
Sydney and Gale need to be in it. So if it's not Sydney and Gale, that's my answer. Like if there you go.
perfect. Yeah, nope. That's the worst case scenario. I hate
Hmm.
to even think about that.
Yeah.
I'm with you. That would be my answer as well. Fresh, all new cast, all new reboot. Is
Well,
I think would be terrible.
I don't think it will happen. I don't think that I don't
No.
think that Spyglass wants to do that. I think that Nev, if she really didn't want to do it, she would have come out and said that when she had the chance, and she answered very professionally.
Hmm.
I think it's fear mongering. I think it's people who are
Yep.
angry about Melissa. I think it's political activists who are trying to make everybody afraid. Oh, look, Scream is ruined forever. This is why you need to boycott, because they're going to do a clean reboot and you're not going to get your legacy characters. Like, no, like stop. Like, these people can't even.
No. Yeah, people, please. Oh my gosh, so frustrating. Um, okay, so Ryan, let's do this before we say goodnight. Um, let's go ahead and tell everyone who may not be familiar what your podcast is about. I know I know your passion is so strong for the franchise, and just share a little bit about that and what they can expect when they tune in.
Sure. Well, and again, thank you so much for having me tonight. Like, this has been such a fun conversation. I loved
Yes.
getting to have this personal connection with you after all this time, just knowing you as an icon, on my screen. So,
Oh,
yeah.
Ryan, thank you, buddy. Well, you're very welcome, and likewise, my friend. It's been wonderful.
So with my podcast, it's called Scream with Ryan C. Showers, and I cover Scream. Like, I talk about everything and anything about Scream. I love to talk about character arcs. I love to talk about like comparison, ranking stuff. I have like topics, like kind of questions, but I basically, it's a deep dive. I call it like, it's if the film critic met the fan, right? So I try to do very
Hmm.
smart analysis, but I still have the love and passion of a fan. And I do everything imaginable on my show. I have a lot of topics, and the cool thing about this is I have a lot of people who come on my show, where, whenever I have a new guest, they come on, they get to give their Scream story, what Scream means to them, and their ranking, and we'll go through kind of a speed round question that I prepare. So it's very fun, and it's also this great place for community bonding, because if you join my Patreon, you get to come on the podcast and do a one-on-one like I've done tonight with Steven, but also we do group episodes every month. So every month I have like a a topic, and everybody can come on, and everybody can give their answer to it. So we just did Should Dewey Have Died in Scream 5, actually.
Oh.
Sarah Campbell, she helped me
Yes.
moderate it. So
Nice.
yeah. So
Oh, it's awesome.
Yeah.
It's always great stuff, and it's very creative, and you guys definitely need to follow, whether it's Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. Go click the links in the chat, follow there. Also follow them on Instagram and Twitter or X. Don't forget to do that as well, so that you can be plugged in and always get the updates and everything that Ryan is involved with, so that you are going to be in the know, my friends, because he does an amazing job. And and again, I'm so thankful for tonight as well, Ryan. This has been such a great time, and just had a blast. It flew by. This was just so much fun. And we're just talking about 7. I mean, we got, man, so much more potential to dig into down the road as time goes. And of course, Val is thanking you for joining us as well. And absolutely, guys, this is definitely not going to be the last time that Ryan will be on the channel, for sure.
And I would love, and and just for your listeners to know, or your viewers, I'm sorry, I come from the podcast world where you don't usually
That's
see my
okay.
face, it's just my voice. But your viewers, I would love to have Steven on my show. We're kind of arranging that probably for the summer, and I'm really excited about that. So, and
Me too,
the
man.
feeling,
I'm very, very excited.
yeah. So thank
Sorry,
you
go ahead.
for the time, and for and the plug of my Instagram and podcast. I really appreciate it. So this has been great, and I love that, like, I feel so understood by you. This is such a breath of fresh air, where on it's people act like Scream 7's this forbidden thing that we're not allowed to talk about. So I love that, like, and I've been kind of pushing back against that. Like, I've done, like, one thing I have done recently is I always have had a guest on my podcast. Like, it's always been me and somebody else, or me, a group of 2, 3, 4, 5 people. But since the Melissa thing happened, I have done 3 episodes where I've just kind of talked just myself, because things are so toxic, and, like, if there's blowback, it should be on me. So that's how I've covered her situation, and I'll probably do the Scream 7 announcement that way, and then after that, it's like, okay, we're moving on, and we're all gonna have a good time. So
Oh yeah, man, absolutely. It's not a taboo discussion, at least not for you or for me. That's for sure. And we're going to carry on, because you know what, this is our franchise, man. This is the love and the passion's real, and so we're going to be there to support any way that we can. And like you say, keep the positiveness out there. There's so much negativity. We don't need to add to that. That doesn't help anything. So let's look at the positive things.
And there's a difference between, like, negativity, like, about, like, saying, "Ooh, I didn't like the way that Dermot Mulroney acted in this particular moment," versus the way that, like, people are tying in huge political international issues, that, like, if you are positive about Scream, you are this. Like, it's So I think that, like, I've really been clarified about my position in the Scream world since all this happened, and I'm grateful for friends like you, who, so yeah.
Likewise, my friend. All right, guys. Well, listen, Ryan has a hard stop. We're going to respect that. This has been an absolutely wonderful night. I appreciate you, man. And I know we'll be in touch on messaging and what have you, and keeping each other informed and what's going on. And I look forward to being a guest as we get to the summer. It's going to be awesome. I'm already looking forward to it, man. So thank you.
Get your Scream story ready. So
that's right. I will be ready to roll, man. This has been such a blast. All right, guys. Well, everybody, we're going to say goodnight to Ryan C. Showers. Be sure you're following him on all the links in the chat and show him some love and let him know that, yeah, you're coming over from the channel. And that would be amazing. And Ryan, we'll talk soon, my friend. Thank you again so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much. All right. Talk to you
All
soon.
right. Good night.
Good night.
Awesome, guys. That was awesome. It was a great time. Hope you guys all enjoyed it as well. It was a fun time with Ryan. Went by so fast. These conversations, when you're having a great conversation, it just always does go by so quick. Caden says 2 icons on one screen. Oh, we were spoiled tonight. Thanks, Phil. Well, that's very nice. Thank you, Caden. Really, that's much appreciated. Um, Very, very nice of you. And I appreciate you guys all showing up tonight and supporting the stream and being here for Ryan. And he's a great guest. And I'm so excited to have him back again and to be on his podcast as well. That's going to be fantastic. And I want to also thank Sarah and Val for moderating so brilliantly, as you always do, guys. I appreciate that. And keeping things in order and moving along and keeping the links out. You guys are great. You know how much I appreciate you, and you guys killed it. So well done. And Sarah said we ended up with 54 likes. Yay, that's great. That's awesome. It'll continue to grow in replay mode. So that's fantastic. That's good to hear. Thank you. Russell says 55 now. Good. Jason says gave you a thumbs up. Well, thank you, Jason. As always, I appreciate it. Oh, thank you, Val. You're awesome. And hey, listen, I also want to make a quick announcement before you guys go and we shut down. I'm going to be appearing as a guest in 45 minutes on the Carbonite Jedi's channel. I don't know if Sarah or Val, if one of you could jump over real quick to the Carbonite Jedi, I blanked, Carbonite Jedi channel and post a link to the stream. We're going to be talking about, is it okay? Now, I know some of you guys may not be concerned about Star Wars stuff, and that's okay. I'd still like to see you over there, though, if you wouldn't mind coming on over and supporting the stream. But basically, we're going to be talking about how Disney is considering replacing C-3PO. And that's not cool in my book. So don't know how you guys feel about it, but we're going to talk about this in 45 minutes. Thank you, Val. There it is. Here is the link, guys, right here. If you go here, I'll be there in 45 minutes at 9:45 Central. In fact, we might even start a tad earlier, but that's the plan at 9:45. So if you guys are still up in 45 minutes, would love for you to come back and join me on the Carbonite Jedi. It's going to be Michael and I talking about C-3PO and the whole idea of being replaced. Yeah, I'm not a fan of Disney as well, as far as how they're treating the Star Wars franchise, especially. Sarah says, great stream. Thank you, Sarah. And Sarah, I want to shout out to you for also promoting this stream a lot on Ryan's Patreon and your acquaintances and friends over there. I know you did a lot of extra promotion. I just want to thank you for the work that you put in to do that. Much appreciated. Hey, Paula, what's going on, Paula? I see you're still here. That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I would love for Disney to, do something, sell the IP of Star Wars or something. I don't know, but anyway, I won't bore you here. This is not I know this is my horror channel. I try to keep it very clear, but it is worth talking about. And so, for all of you who are interested in the Star Wars discussion, Mike and I are going to dig into it tonight. So come join us. All right. Come join us over there on the link that Val posted just now. Just click that right there, set a reminder, and hit that thumbs up button and join us. Okay. We'll have a good, we're going to have a good time. But for now, Russell says I'll be there. Thank you, Russell. Awesome, man. Excuse me, guys. Yeah, 40 minutes. Okay. On that note, before I start coughing, on that note, guys, thank you all for being here. This was a great stream. I will see you hopefully in 40 minutes. Otherwise, if you're not able to make it, don't forget tomorrow night, 9 p.m. We'll be just getting started. This time tomorrow, we'll just be getting started with Shane Meader, and he is the production designer of Founders Day. It was in theaters just recently. And he also was a production designer on the movie Student Body. And we're going to be talking mostly Founders Day and talking about the production design, the sets, all that good stuff, locations. So you don't want to miss it. It's going to be an interesting decision. It's going to be an interesting conversation about what went into making Founders Day and all those production design elements. So I hope you guys will make it for that stream tomorrow night, Sunday night, 9 p.m. Central Time. All right, guys. Well, oh, hey, hang on before we go. I got a super chat here that just popped in from my buddy Marcus. I shot him 6 times. What's up, Marcus? Thanks for the $2 super chat, my friend. I appreciate that. Scream 30 years later. I know. Seriously, think about that. H2O route. I think so. Hashtag Stu lives. Yeah, Marcus. I think so, buddy. I think that there's a good shot, a good chance of that. I really do. And we touched on that a little earlier with Ryan, and I think that's the way to go. I really do. I think it's the way to go. Thank you, Marcus. That's awesome. 100% agree with you, my friend. Let's go the H2O route. Let's do this thing. And I'm going to play a clip here for Super Tender's live stream, super chat earlier, and Marcus's now. So this will be a clip for both you guys. Sometimes you just got to crank it up, man, and get in the mood for a little bit of metal. Here we go.
Oh, wake up! Grab brush, put a little makeup. Hot stars fade away the shaker. White leaf keep on the table. Create another fable. Grab brush, put a little makeup. Hot stars fade away the shaker. White leaf keep on the table. I don't think you girl.
Wow. Woo! I tell you what. That'll get your feet moving, running out the door. But anyway, thank you, Val. Val and Sarah are so quick. I'm telling you, they are so quick on the draw. I appreciate that. There's the link to the interview with Shane tomorrow night. Just click that right now, hit the thumbs up button, and set a reminder, and you'll be good to go. All right. Well, guys, listen, we're going to leave it there. I'm going to go ahead, hop off here so that I can get ready to be on Mike's stream, the Carbonite Jedi stream in about 30 minutes or so. And you guys have a wonderful night. I hope you'll all be over there to continue the discussion about Star Wars. But if you can't make it, I'll see you tomorrow night for the interview with Shane. It's going to be a great time. And in the meantime, guys, I love y'all. Thank you so much. I appreciate each and every single one of you. Thanks for the super chats. Thanks for being here. And thanks for being awesome, awesome individuals. Have a wonderful night, guys. Hope to see you at the Carbonite Jedi in 30 minutes. Good night. Take care.